we are building a direct-to-consumer supplement brand. And this is how we named the brand and made the logo.
Kø. How about you go without the shirt at all?
Kan du være statist med reklame? Man tester forskellige budskab.
Det her er et godt eksempel på, hvordan vi tester en annonce.
So I started off the naming brainstorm with some keywords to kind of direct the creative efforts. And obviously I already had this corporate athlete article from Harvard Business Review in mind. So I knew I wanted to go that direction. And that's why the former episode on YouTube here was about brand positioning, because the brand positioning played a big part really in regards to how we're going to name the brand. And the brand positioning really is more important than the name itself. But the keywords were hydration, electrolytes, cognitive function, and neurotransmitters. So already here, as you can see, it also depended a lot on existing knowledge about electrolytes, the benefits, the context, the features really. So the brainstorm started broad. It was just something light. So just taking the last part of electrolyte and putting something in front of it. Then I went to Alpha Light, and you can see corporate athlete Alpha Light. It gave like the vibe I wanted to give off, but it wasn't quite there, not quite that original. Then I just wrote App Corp, parenthesis App Sort. A really big part of doing a brainstorm is also writing down your bad ideas. Then I went to Beyond Baseline. So we have like a cognitive baseline, and using this product you would go beyond baseline. Still not that original. But I was starting to work into this kind of cognitive performance narrative. Then the idea next up was the human formula, or the second idea was Formula H, which is short for Formula Human. Pretty interesting idea really, and I still like that thought. But it fostered some new ideas. Then it became NeuroFlow, so focusing on the neuro part of the benefits. So, but then it took a turn, and I started doing the ideas, the naming ideas of human rocket fuel or HRF, cognitive rocket fuel, CRF or CROF. So, but how are you going to pronounce these? Like CRF, it doesn't sound good when you say it out loud. CROF doesn't sound good at all, short for cognitive rocket fuel. So I went on to Corp Ath. So you can see here, that's basically just corporate athlete, but I have removed some letters, but it's still not easy to pronounce. Then I went to TCAF, and that almost sounds like decaf, which is not good. But that was the corporate athlete formula. So I went back to like the basic premise of the corporate athlete, or the term the corporate athlete that I liked so much. Then I actually came up with Corpolite. But what I did each time I found a name that I think sounded good, I went to Google and Googled whether the domain was free, obviously. Also checked if the social handles were free. But I also Googled if there were any definitions of similar names or similar terms. But Corpolite spelled a little differently means shit that has turned to stone. So that didn't work. Then I went on, removed the O, Corpolite. We are nearing something that actually is easy to pronounce and sounds pretty decent. Then I tried, instead of doing the last part of electrolytes and the first part of corporate athlete, I tried to reverse it, so electrolyte. So electrolyte athlete. Still not bad, pretty decent. Then I went to corptrolite. That was difficult to pronounce. Athletrite, also difficult to pronounce, but actually I like all these different kind of versions of the name. But I was still here working from like the three words corporate athlete electrolyte. But this was my brainstorm going in one direction, right? I was building ideas upon ideas. But then what I did was I took a few steps back and worked with the idea of like human rocket fuel, cognitive rocket fuel, and these three letters, and tried to branch into another direction again. So I did human cognitive efficiency, Then I just wrote cognitive efficiency, and then neuro corporate athlete NCA, and that was actually pretty decent. But I couldn't quite let go of the corpolite. That was that meant shit that has turned to stone. So then I just changed one letter that was corpolite. So corpalite instead of corpolite. As you can see, it's corporate athlete electrolytes. So it's corp A lights. So that's how I came up with the name corpolite. And that actually just kind of stuck. And that's how I went through the naming brainstorm to come up with the name. And that's actually what it means. Corpolite is short for corporate athlete electrolytes. And then I had to design the logo. And this might be a controversial statement, but your logo doesn't matter. Or, of course, it does matter, but not in the way that you think. Your logo has a practical function. So it's a tool that you can use, and you have to design it as a tool you can use. That's the only purpose of your logo. So obviously it has to be easy to recognize. But the way I approached the process was I was very determined that I wanted a logo icon and I wanted a logo word mark. A logo icon is what you know from Nike's swoosh. It represents the whole brand in a very, very simple manner, and you can see it and you will connect it to Nike instantly. But I also wanted a word mark because as a completely new brand, it's very, very important to put your name out there. An icon in itself will not tell people what your name is, what your brand is, and they can't search for an icon. So it's very important for me to have an icon that could be used independently, but also a word mark that incorporated the icon into the word mark, so that when the consumer meets the word mark with the icon, they know what brand to search for, and they can connect the icon to the word mark, so the icon can stand alone in a possible future. What was especially important for me was the size and the height of the logo. So can it look good when you have like a landscape product that you need to put your logo on? Does it look good when you have just a square to put your logo on? Like, really, can it look good in every aspect ratio? Because we're going to work with every aspect ratio, both in content, but also in packaging and in anything else. Merch, for instance. So does it look good across the back of a t-shirt? Does it look good on the chest of a t-shirt? Does it look good on a computer bag? Like, every use case you can think of, will it look good proportionally? Will your logo make layout design easy for you, or will it be something that you have to work around? And obviously I wanted it to be easy and usable. So with this in mind, I started just typing the name, Corpolite. And as I knew I wanted an icon that could be used with the word mark, I would just knew right away, I can't even remember where I saw the inspiration, but I knew right away that I wanted to take one of the letters and try to make a icon from that. So I just started here with Corpolite. Then I went to take Corpolite and make the O just italic and in another font. So that's the second work here. And then I went on to kind of play around with the O. So this was the first version where I just kind of distorted the O. It looks kind of artistic, but it's not very iconic in that sense. Like, it's not easy to recognize. It has a funny shape that's also very hard or difficult to replicate if you had to write it or draw it by hand. So from this, I went on to this. So I just took the O and stretched it. And that's actually the logo I went for. So it took, let's see, I had the initial font. Then I changed the O, and that was 2, 3, and in the fourth try I came up with the logo, and that's just what we kept going with. Then I had the icon, and from the icon I wanted to test if it could work in different kind of scenarios. So first I took the icon and just wrote the name of the brand underneath. That worked. I also wrote the name of the brand within the icon. That also worked. So both of these examples are something that we will put into the brand book. Then I tested the icon to see, is it easy to recognize if you kind of distort it? So I tried to distort it only by taking the inside. I distorted it by blacking it completely out. And still by blacking it completely out, it can be recognized, which is pretty good. Then I took and made like different kind of 3D models just to see what will it look like in different kind of context. So as a 3D model, with different kind of gradients, What happens if you change the outer line of the logo? Is it still possible to recognize it? Also, if I cut the icon into half and put it into different places in the frame, will it still be recognizable? And yes, it is. So it really stood the test. So the icon was solid, and that's why we kept working with that. Then I went on to try out different fonts for the logo itself, for the word complicate. Actually, this was an inspiration. I know I'm late to the party, but I just watched Big Little Lies, and then I saw the font that they used for the name of the episode, and I thought that looked very aesthetic. So I searched up what that font was, and I found an alternative to that font, and I tried using it here. And this is the logo we ended up going with. So it just, like, kind of last minute before the designing the packaging, changed the font of the logo. So this is the end result. Up here you can see I went to Google and I found a color palette image. It's just a reference. I'm not working just with these colors, but this is a good reference that I used to create a kind of color palette here in Illustrator that I'm working with, thinking it directly into a brain guide really. Then I also want a fifth element, so something that's not the logo, that's more like a monogram really. So I tried working around with the icon to create a new icon that could work as a monogram. And here I tried out different kind of layouts, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. You can see here it needs more white space. So that's still a work in progress. I haven't found a monogram or something that can work as a monogram yet, or something that I've decided I want to use. But this is a work in progress. So at some point, we might launch a monogram, and you might see some inspirations from there, so it might be something completely new. That's actually how I went about designing the logo itself. I can tell you that I'm just looking over here and finding this. I was very much inspired by Oakley. Oakley has this logo, right, and it's just so simple. It's really also just a stretched O that creates an oval. But what really put me onto the logo as an inspiration was this post from High Snobiety, where you can see the distortion of the Oakley logo, but you can still kind of tell it's the Oakley logo, and it's used in a complete different setting. So it's very easily recognizable, even when you distort the logo. Also here you can see the logo is distorted, but there's no doubt that it's Oakley. So it just has so many use cases, and it's recognizable, and I just think it's cool. But you might as well prepare. If you're doing a logo, people will ask you, what does it mean? Why is it there? And so you might as well come up with a story, and we might also come up with a story. But the reality is just that I made a logo that I think is cool, and it has very many practical use cases.
And that's it for today. That's how we came up with the name during a brainstorm, and how we made the logo with trial and error, and pretty quickly actually chose a logo that had a practical use. In the next video, I'm going to show you how we are using this logo in a practical way when we are designing the packaging, both the stick packs and the boxes the stick packs are going to come in. So subscribe, and I will update you again in 2 weeks.
Tell me what it's like to live with superpowers. I don't know, but I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I'ma get it. I just know that I'ma get it. 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 I'ma get it.